So there's actually a new cloud solution that we just recently announced called Cloud Bank Storage. And I want to just do a quick level set on a couple of the terms we're going to talk about. I mean, if this was a tech field day, we'd probably be diving deep into these things. We're not going to do that. But I just want to give you the high level of what these things are so that as we start talking about this and as we show you the demo, you know what we're talking about. I'm kind of hoping everybody in the room knows what 3PAR is. Anybody not know what 3PAR is? Tim, I'll talk to you later, okay?
See me after class.
So it's, of course, this is the block-based storage that we'll talk about in this demo. There's another product that you'll hear us mention is called Store Once. Store Once is basically a disk-based backup appliance that has built-in deduplication. It'll be key to what we're talking about. Recovery Manager Central, you'll hear us use RMC is the code language there. RMC, Recovery Manager Central. It's basically copy data management. So this is software that will integrate into different applications like VMware. So there's an RMCV for VMware, integrates into vCenter where you can then basically go into your vCenter, click a button, do a backup that basically then gets managed and moved off to the Store Once device as the place where you move your backup to. But this is basically the thing that integrates into things, again, like VMware, SQL, Oracle, SAP HANA, more to come. And then the last one you'll hear us talk about is something it's called actually Store Once Catalyst. Catalyst is actually an API within Store Once, and actually RMC has knowledge of it, certainly knows what it is. Basically an API that allows us to do deduplication anywhere. And again, we're talking about backup deduplication. This isn't the same deduplication that you'd see in an all-flash array like a 3PAR array or a Nimble storage array. What we're going to show you in the demo is going to be 3PAR based. The demo or the product today actually also works with Store Virtual, another storage platform. And I know it's going to be a really high priority to have RMC integration and get it going with Nimble storage too. So this is basically, you'll see this as it all comes together, and we kind of tell you a little bit more about what this Cloud Bank solution really is about. So I'm going to do something a little different. And I'm going to stand back here so I can control the keyboard. If you guys have followed me or if you've seen any of the videos and things I do this thing called a Chalk Talk. You guys are about now to get the first live Chalk Talk. I know you're just really excited about that, aren't you? Yeah. So these are, I'm going to let you in on my secret. This is, if you've seen these videos I do, it's a hand drawn on a board. It's this application that is a lot like a PowerPoint presentation, but you basically put images and text on a palette and then click a button and the hand starts drawing it away. So I thought this would be a really effective way to move through this quickly because I really want to get to the demo, and given we're behind, this will be actually now an outstanding idea. Okay, so HPE Cloud Bank Storage, and there's really like a few things that it's focused on. It's at the top level, it's about a new tier of low-cost storage in the cloud to be able to protect a backup. And to be able to use that as also as a recovery point, either as a long-term archive or as a recovery point. In terms of what it'll work with, it works with AWS, works with Azure, or you can use on-premises object storage. Basically what it'll do is instantly cloud enable backup applications, ISVs. We'll talk a little bit about what that means and which ones we support. And does it optimize flash protection for things like 3PAR, I mentioned Store Once, and we'll have Nimble support here in the near future. And it really gives you more flexibility and control for two focused areas of cloud-based recovery, and that's both for disaster recovery and long-term retention. And then here's the kind of like the top level. You can protect up to 100 petabytes of data in an object storage in the cloud or on premises, and you can do it at what's 0.001? Is that like 1/10 of a cent, right? 1/10 of a cent per gigabyte per month, and that's based on kind of a standard deduplication ratio that we see with Store Once, which is about 20:1, and then the pricing that people see right today for object storage in AWS. The standard object storage is about 2 cents per gigabyte per month. So next I'm going to just kind of draw a picture of what it is. And so it really starts with having your data protection software, the store once system that we mentioned, and it's going way faster on me here, and the cloud-based storage that here I'm calling it object storage because it's basically object storage that's in the cloud, or again, it can be on premises with something like Scality. The customer in their process, they're going to use their backup software. They're going to do a backup. That backup's going to happen to the store once system. And then within store once, we'll do something that we call a catalyst copy, which isn't actually replicating data, but what it's doing is it's creating a metadata. And then any changes that have been made since the last time you did a backup, that's what will get moved to the object storage. And again, that could be AWS, it can be Azure, and it can be a local on-premises Scality ring if that's what you're using. Okay, so that's what it looks like to put the data into the cloud bank storage. Now let's look what a restore looks like. Same process, just back in reverse. This time, we'll do a compare of what is actually on the physical local device. This thing, I don't know why it's moving so fast. Let me back up a little bit because it's moving too fast for me. Okay, so here we go. Good place to stop. So it'll compare what I have in my local store and whatever I don't have locally. It can see what based on the deduplication changes, it'll pull the data back in from the object store to get it consistent. And then obviously from there, the database software, the data protection software will manage the recovery of the data. So that's what a restore looks like. We'll look at one more example, and this will be kind of what a disaster recovery looks like. So in this case, I lose my store once system. Again, I don't know why the software is going crazy on me going fast. It doesn't normally do this. Of course, it does during a demo. So in this case, I'm going to lose my site where I have my local store once system. And now I've got the data up on my cloud, but I want to recover that from a disaster recovery standpoint because I need to recover it, but I don't have access to that store once where I originally did the backup. This is an interesting thing, I think, and certainly from a competitive standpoint. There's other people that have kind of solutions like this. The problem is if they do lose the backup device where they did the backup from, they're kind of hosed. You can't recover your data because they've got the metadata stored there, and they can't recover from the cloud because they've lost everything. What you can do is you can actually put in place any kind of other additional store once system. What is really kind of a low-cost way of doing that is using a store once VSA, which is a software version that can run on a VMware host. Pretty low cost, and a good way to then set up a secondary way to recover your data without having to have the original store once system. So that's where the disaster recovery piece comes from, and it's pretty unique. I'm not aware of too many other people that actually can do that today. If they lose the original backup appliance, they can't recover the data from the object storage or from the cloud. So this is just a quick look at what's supported. When we support this today, it's going to be with all store once systems including any store once system, except for there's a free VSA, which is basically just to try it, a store once VSA that's a free. That one doesn't support it. Again, from an object storage standpoint, I've kind of stated it a couple times, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Scality is a local on-premises way of doing it. And then from a data protection application standpoint, I mentioned Catalyst. There's this other thing that Catalyst does, which is called a Catalyst copy. That's another feature. And so in order for the backup software to support what we're doing here, it has to support Catalyst copy. And that Catalyst copy today are things like Data Protector, Backup Exact, Net Backup, Bridgehead, and of course we just talked about Recovery Manager Central. You can actually do this just with Recovery Manager Central. You don't have to have the backup software. We'll support others in the future. Veeam, everybody's big fans of Veeam, I think. Veeam is committed that they're going to be supporting Catalyst copy. I think sometime by the end of the year, maybe in the next release, I think is what I've heard people say publicly. Veeam will have it soon too. Okay, so I'm going to actually, these are kind of obvious benefits, so I'm just going to let these play, and then we're going to look at the demo because I think you'll get a lot more out of the demo versus the marketing benefits. But obviously it's about lowering TCO because now if you're today using tape, you don't have to manage moving tapes off-site and manage that whole management of having tapes off-site. Instead, manage it from a cloud. Couple points, and I'm going to actually pause this real quick before it goes on. I don't know that for people that are watching, if any of you actually happen to have a store once, This is actually today an early access program. If you want to get into the early access program, that URL will get you in there. So hpestorage.me/cloudbankea. The capitalization there is important. It's actually a bit.ly URL behind it, so you have to use the right capitalization to get to that URL. So if you go look at it, make sure you use the right capitalization. And then just if you want to know more about Store Once, we have all these quote easy URLs that from a storage perspective, you could see hpe.com/storage/store once. And there you could learn about RMC. I think there's going to be more information there soon about Cloud Bank and more information about the Store Once portfolio. So anyway, that's kind of the big picture what it is. I think it'll come together a lot better by looking at the demo. So let's bring Bharath up to look at show you the demo.
Sure. Well, my name is Bharath, part of the tech marketing team in HP Storage. And what I'd be doing here is the demo of the Cloud Bank feature that we are releasing from HP Storage. So here is what my demo is going to look like. So I just want to conceptually paint a picture of what the demo actually does. So we have, in this demo, SQL Server, which is going to be the application that I'm going to be using. And we have RMC, which Calvin introduced to you guys. So RMC is our copy data management software. So it does application consistent storage snapshots of SQL Server in this case, but it also does VMware, SAP HANA, and Oracle as of today, and more coming. And then RMC also enables you to do test dev, right? So you can mount and attach your snaps to a DB and clone your DB and do test dev reporting there. So that's one feature that RMC enables you to do. The other important feature that RMC brings to the table is integrates Store Once and data protection into the whole scheme of things, right? So it orchestrates a snapshot, which the SQL Server uses here. So the 3PAR is going to provision virtual volumes to the SQL Server here. And RMC, as a first step in this demo, is going to orchestrate an app consistent snapshot. So it talks to VSS, coalesces SQL, and takes a snap here. And the next thing we are going to do or see here is once the snap is created, I'm just going to mount it on the same SQL Server instance and bring the database up like a test dev, right? So you can have reporting going on there, right? So that is the next step. And then the third step is without impacting the SQL production client, right? RMC enables backup of this snapshot directly into the Store Once Catalyst store as a virtual synthetic full. So day one is going to be your full backup, and from then on, it's going to be incremental forever, and you have a virtual synthetic full where you have a full restore point created every day, right? And the fourth thing we are going to see here is the Cloud Bank feature, right? Where RMC orchestrates a Catalyst copy from the backup Catalyst store into the cloud, right? So that's the flow of the demo, and I'd be really happy to answer any questions regarding any of the things that I pointed out here, right? So this is what my demo looks like. So there is a SQL Server that is running here. You see a prod database here running in the default SQL instance that I'm going to be snapping and backing up and going to do a Catalyst copy, right? So this is RMC interface, and HPINP. And as you see here, right, so RMC is a single point of management for anything app consistent snapshots that have workloads or volumes coming in from a 3PAR. So you have SQL Server here, you have Oracle, you have SAP HANA, and the one thing that's missing in this screen is VMware, but it's appearing on your VMware web client, right? So when you have a virtual machine, when you right-click on that, you'd be able to see RMC integrated there as a plugin, right? So what we are going to do here is go to the SQL Server page And I have added the default SQL Server instance here into RMC. And when I add it, RMC is going to scan the instance and look for all of the databases there. So you can see the databases out there. And specifically, I wanted to draw your attention to prod. And what you're going to do, the next step is create a snapshot of this database, right? So all I have to do is click on Actions and create a snapshot. And all I have to do is click on OK. But before that, I just wanted to point you to another feature that RMC has. It also supports remote snapshot. What it means is if you have DC, DR, 3-par at DC, 3-par in the DR, and have remote copy set up between both the 3-pars, RMC is going to use remote copy, and it's going to have the remote snapshot at the DR site if you choose to, so that you can have test dev running at DC and test dev running at DR if you wanted to, right? So in this demo, it's going to be a local snapshot. So I'm just going to click on OK here. And what happens here is RMC is going to talk to the SQL Server. It's going to talk to 3-par, identify the volumes that the SQL Server uses, the database uses, and it's going to query SQL Server and take a snap of those volumes, right? So that's what is happening in the backend. And there you go. The snap is now successful. And when we click on prod, we see the snap here, right? So when I do click on the action, I see various options here, right? I can do mount and attach, which enables the test dev reporting use case. So I'm going to do that next. But also, if you want to restore, right, quickly, then you can do a restore from the local snap, or you can back up your snap through RMC into store once, which is the next step. But what I'm going to show here is the copy data management feature of RMC. So I'm going to mount this snap to the same prod server from where it came from, and I'm going to name it test dev, right? And click on continue. I'm going to say mount now. And what this is going to do is on my SQL Server, it's going to mount the snapshot. In the background, it's going to create a read-write child of the read-only snapshot that you took. And then it is going to attach it to this SQL instance so that it enables you to have a read-write copy, so where you can do test dev or reporting or whatever purpose.
So in the background, is that attaching another drive into the OS?
I can show you exactly that. So
but this isn't just attaching another drive. It's doing the orchestration full end.
Exactly. So it's doing the whole orchestration in the background. And if you see the 3-par snapshot directory, it's mounting, it's resignaturing the drives, and it's mounting these two volumes that the SQL DB uses. And then if I click on a refresh, which is my right click, and do a refresh here, there you go. You have the test dev up and running. And if you go back into RMC and see, there you go. You see this snapshot that we took just now is attached to the instance as a test dev DB, right? So any of the operations like QA reporting can go on there. So I'm going to unmount this now that we have seen it, and detaching it from the database, so which is going to take it off from where it was, and then go on to do a backup of this, right? So let's wait for the unmount operation to complete. There you go. It's done. So the next step is what we're going to do now is backup to a store once device. And you can see I have done some previous backups here. So these are the snapshots that I have that I manage. And then I have also done some previous backups, right? So what I'm going to do now is trigger a backup of this snapshot here. So I click on the snap actions, click on protect, and it's going to bring me to this window where I'm just going to name my backups. Let's say cloud field, right? And I have a backup policy that has been set up here. If you see, backup policy is SQL Express Protect, which has the target details like which catalyst store it is backing up to and stuff like that, right? And I can also retain my snap if I choose to. So this is something unique. What is happening in the background is we are not even impacting the SQL client, right? So all of the backup is doing is RMC talks to the 3PAR, and it knows where the snapshots are, and it's going to stream these snapshots directly from 3PAR into RMC into the store once without impacting the SQL database. So which is something that most customers love. And how it is going to do it is it's going to do a virtual synthetic full, right? So even though you're moving just the incremental snapshot data, you're doing a virtual synthetic full. So we'll just wait for the backup to complete here. And from a store once perspective, so this is where the data is going to. So this is the GUI of a store once appliance. And this is one thing I wanted to point out, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm pointing out the type of backup. So you can do a full backup or leave it as auto, which means it's going to detect any existing backup in there, and it's going to do a virtual synthetic full if it detects a backup, right? So that's what the auto option means. And then I start the backup, and then I come into store one. So this is the store one's GUI, and this is the backup destination. So this Catalyst store called SQL, this is my backup destination. You can see the backups, all of the backups are happening on this store, and by default, I have it as low bandwidth, which means all of my dedupe is going to happen at the client, and only the unique data is going to come into the store once appliance. And there you go. This is how the backup performance looks like when you trigger the backup. So what I do here now is you can see all of the backup is completed now. And if you see the capacity of the store, it has increased. Like they have backed up 50 GB of data, SQL database data, but since a lot of the data is dedupable, we have stored it as like 7.4 GB. So you can see the dedupe ratio to be 7.2 to 1, right? So which is here. So this is a segue into the Cloud Bank feature, right? So what Cloud Bank actually is now that we have backed up to a local Catalyst store, the Cloud Bank feature is displayed here. What it is you can have Azure or Amazon S3 that is used as a backend for a local Catalyst store that you create on store once, right? So here I have created a Catalyst store called SQL Cloud Bank, and if you see here, I am using the cloud bucket that I have as the target storage. So all I do is store the metadata on the local appliance, but the storage, actual storage, is coming off from the cloud, right? So when I do a Catalyst copy from this SQL store, which is the backup destination, into the SQL Cloud Bank, the data is going to be replicated into the cloud in a deduplicated and compressed manner, right? So there is not going to be any rehydration of data from a store once into Azure or Amazon S3 or an on-premise scality, right? Which is the key benefit for the Cloud Bank feature. So here is what it looks like. So from an Amazon or a Scality perspective, all I'm using is this bucket that I have, right? So I have mapped this bucket as my storage destination into the Cloud Bank screen that I showed just before here. So if you see the SQL Cloud bucket that I'm pointing to here, so this is exactly the bucket that I showed on the previous screen on Scality, right? And the way I use it is if I right-click on this, I'm going to get this URL, which I'm going to use it on my Store1 screen. So now that we have the backup here, right, we are going to replicate this backup into the cloud. The way you do it is you go into RMC, click on Create Catalyst Copy. Once you click on that, it's going to bring you to this screen where you're going to have the description and select the copy policy. The copy policy is just a form of a policy that has details about the destination, where the backup has to be replicated to, right? So I select Catalyst Copy, and then if you see the Express Protect, which is the backup, I'm going to replicate into the cloud is an existing one. And which one I'm going to replicate is the backup that I did in the previous step, so which is backup 1. And I have now submitted the backup job, and you can see this graph is now going to show the statistics. So this graph is basically for replication, and this one is for backup. So this is where we saw the previous stats, and now you can see the backup of the replication of the data has started from the local Store1 store into the cloud, right? So this is the statistics that we are seeing here. And you can see the performance is like really high because all we are doing is we are replicating the unique data from a Store1 appliance into the cloud. So all we have to do is to send the unique blocks into the cloud, right?
So just quickly, Sina, I know you've got lots of other demos, and I don't want to take too much time, but I sort of missed what the benefit of having the catalyst in the middle, rather than going from Store1 directly to S3. I mean, that seems a lot of stuff that you've been doing to do the intermediary step before it actually gets copied to the cloud. What's the benefit of that?
So the way we have it today is we cannot back up directly from an ISV into a cloud. So the way it has been, or the feature that we have today is you have to have a local backup, and we have to replicate that into the cloud, but we are actively working on backing up directly into
part of the reason for having that local backup is it's not just HP storage, but it's net backup and those other legacy backup tools connecting into this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Store1 appliance is heterogeneous support for any ISV, so net backup or Catalyst plugins that we have, or RMC, you can back it up to Store1 and then do a Catalyst copy into the cloud. The other important thing that I'd like to mention here is now we support VSA, the Store1 VSA running on Azure. So you can directly back up from RMC or net backup into the VSA that is running in Azure, and then do a Catalyst copy from the Azure VSA into an Azure blob destination. So that is also something that is supported. But we are actively working on direct backup into a cloud bank store. And after the Catalyst copy is completed, you can see all of these items, right? So this indeed uses the cloud as the destinations. The key thing that I would like to reemphasize here is all of this data that is present in the cloud is self-describing in nature. So if you were to have a disaster, lose any Store1 that you actually had landed your backup on, you can attach this SQL bucket or any bucket that you have on the cloud to any Store1 appliance and restore your data. So that's the beauty of the Cloud Bank feature.